I engage with lots of stakeholders, and there's this ethos, Silicon Valley style, that technology will change the world, and it does. But technology operates not in a vacuum. So policy matters, regulations matter, incentives matter, which links back to policy. And one of the things that I keep learning every day is you may be sort of right today, but things change. So we have to keep questioning our assumptions. People have a lot of assumptions about mobility. Well, what works for one set or one point of time may not continue. So let's think back to how many of you know of or remember the Model T Ford? It's been a while. Yeah, I don't think any of us have sat in one. Now, compare the Model T Ford to the prototypical American, slightly larger than Indian, family sedan. Middle, not high-end. Which of these two gets 25 miles a gallon? And which of these costs about 1/3 of per capita GDP, per capita income? And the answer is both of them. Identical. So what just changed? A whole bunch of stuff changed. Well, A, you can get it in more colors than black, but speed, safety, pollution, all of these things change, and these are driven by policy. And the most important thing when we think about the future of mobility is that this is an ecosystem. This is not about the product. Even in the petrochemical-based world, there was a whole infrastructure of pumps, maintenance, but in the electric side, you've got the grid, and there's so much more going on. So we have to keep thinking about the diverse stakeholders and a societal total cost of ownership. So let's talk a bit about the grid, since that's where most of my research is on electricity and what will happen with the EV or mobility electrification tsunami. Like many things, good news, bad news. The good news is, on an energy basis, kilowatt hours, it's very easy to handle, even with 100% electrification by 2030, of all two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, and intra-city buses. Now, of course, that leaves aside a big chunk of important freight or intercity buses, but even with these, the incremental energy demand on electricity is only expected to be a few percent of the 2030 demand. That's the good news. The bad news is the instantaneous kilowatt capacity requirement on your grid could be unmanageable if we don't start planning for it today. And so we need incentives, such as in electricity, we don't have any time of day pricing. So worst case scenario is if everyone comes home with every electric vehicle and plugs in at 7 p.m. on Friday evening. And the best case is we intelligently spread out all the charging throughout a week or whatever time period to meet the same duty cycle, vehicle kilometer ranges and so forth. And that spread is 50 times. That's how dramatic it is. So what it really we found is the problem isn't the grid per se, it's going to be a very local problem. Can I charge? Where I have a vehicle. So parking is its own problem in India. How many people have dedicated parking spots? And then, is the local grid infrastructure ready for it? My belief is lack of charging infrastructure is not the bottleneck to the next generation of EVs for India, for two reasons. One, I don't see so many people saying, I was going to buy an electric vehicle, but I just wish there was a charging station near my house, like the petrol pump is 1 kilometer away. You're going to charge overnight at home, or you're going to be a commercial user. Fleets are going to be some of our early adopters in India, whether it's the buses, they have depots, the industry, corporate mobility fleets, taxis, they can build their own infrastructure, get high utilization rates out of it, and also pay for it themselves. I don't think necessarily that taxpayers should be paying for that sort of a charging infrastructure. What we do need, and it's coming soon, is better choices of attractive vehicles that people want. We're not quite there yet. This is my personal opinion, having driven or sat in a whole bunch of them. The other aspect of the grid people talk about a lot. We want to clean up the system. So fleets are going to be mobile much of the day. When are they going to charge? At night. What was the solar panels' output at night? 0. So unfortunately, our grid is dominated by coal, and even the growth of renewables, which is one of the highest in the world, solar in the short run doesn't provide a nighttime solution, which is okay. There's still value to it. But I'm just saying we shouldn't assume that this marriage of EV and PV is automatic. I think going forward, we need to look for co-benefits, including local air pollution. And to do that, we really should stop picking technology winners. This space is not a supply side problem only, there's the demand and behavioral. So we should signal as policy the externalities, be it pollution, be it carbon, be it congestion, all of the above, to get new innovations from technology providers and third parties. Because if we just pick technology winners, we lose other things, and it's going to be a portfolio approach. Even a revolution is more evolutionary than you think. So let's find our niches. This is one of the messages I have for entrepreneurs and innovators, is Indian use cases, duty cycles, road sizes, behavioral is different. So let's get maybe more modular EV designs, things that are a little smaller than the rest of the world does, and you can actually do that cheaper, which is another good news. Let's find lower hanging fruit to start before we try and solve all the problems and become global leaders per se. India, is huge. Everyone likes to talk of Indian scale. And second, when everyone says, oh, but you're just solving a niche, I'm always reminded that a niche in India is bigger than a lot of countries in Europe. Thank you.